Thank you very much, Hugh. And I have first to say thank you to you and Richard, because you succeed to create a professional friendship between people in a niche who share the hope and the idealistic hope of creating a better world through maps. But in fact, it's also to change the life of our friends, our people, the citizens of in the cities. And you know, when you work on the maps and you work in design and public transport, you know you touch that. You can do that. I've received sometimes message from my friends who are not involved in public transport to tell me, thank you. So I was knowing I had not done that myself, but I had created the process. I was involved in the process to deliver at the end something which was making something better for people. So this is very, very motivating. And so we share that. Thank you to organize that. And UITP, in which I'm also involved, is also always very, very committed in creating systems of people, phenomenons, to change really the daily world for people. Not only lectures to be interesting, but also to have food for thought and action. So, I was former head of design of this company, RATP, which is the Paris Transportation Company, 44,000 people, so a big monster, but a very, very organized company, working now in a competitive world, in competition with the others, like many of transport operators. And I was involved from the beginning of my work when I entered in the marketing unit in '82, coming from an engineering school, École des Ponts et Chaussées, Bridges and Roads. So I never built any bridge, any road. But I was involved in a study called Integration of the Subnetworks, Intégration des sous-réseaux. I was finding that very funny. But in fact, I've worked on the subject during 40 years without success. So I was really frustrated, and I'm beginning this presentation saying that I come from 2 days ago, I was at the defense of a PhD researcher who has worked with me, Mathilde, during 4 years, and she was studying why the hubs were not correct for the people, because their governance was not correct. If you are a designer, if you like to work on concrete levels, you think, you believe that because you deliver beautiful, useful, and good things, you will convince people, the decision makers, that it's worth to do that. It's false. It doesn't work like that. I made many times this mistake. So I have to say that to younger people, that you have to work at the same time on the design case and on the business case. How decisions are taken, why are they taken, who is involved, by which window you have to enter in the system if you couldn't enter by the door. This is as important as doing the job well, okay? So with the hubs, I think you will understand why I'm saying that. I have 4 parts and a conclusion. The first is, what is a hub? What is this word, a hub? I think 15 years ago we were not using that. So, and then the answers. Because there are problems, you can do urban planning to organize the spaces better. Then you do wayfinding by design, and wayfinding is a category of design which is really, really effective. And then you can do placemaking. You were using the word in a way, but I'm using in a bit different way. You know, this is like cuisine. The recipes are not all in a dictionary. We are inventing the work. And so the same words have not always the same definitions. But I think you will find your way through what I'm explaining. And at the end, I will try to speak about design management, how to work on the subject to be more efficient tomorrow. First, interchanges, hubs. What's that? This is my experience when I came from Paris to my hotel. I took the line 14. I changed in Châtelet-Léal, took the RERB. I arrived in Charles de Gaulle. Then when I arrived in Hong Kong, after having taken a plane, of course, I took the Airport Express, the fantastic one, the best of the world. And then, in fact, I took a taxi because I was tired. I couldn't find where the line 4 was, the city bus was. Connaught Road, you go out, it's not written, you don't understand that you are not at the ground level. I saw a taxi, okay, I'm tired, I take a taxi. In fact, on the maps, the transport lines are presses. It's sure, and passengers can relax while vehicles are moving. But in the hubs, when you have to change, it works here. You have a physical work to do with a suitcase, with a baby car, with children, with a grandmother. You have to come here. And you have a cognitive work to do, especially if it's not in your language. So the pain points are in the hubs, okay? The first sentence you have to memorize is that. And the hubs have always existed because the passengers were always multimodal. When the Northern Line was extended to Morden, there was a good interchange for buses created. When, after the Second World War, the bus network in Paris was restructured, Vincennes-Château, what was the bus terminal, to Château de Vincennes. It was not the same name, but it was really well done. And you know, here, I found this photo. It's not existing anymore. Tsimsha Tsui, with the ferries, the train which was arriving, the KCR, and the buses. So it was a hub, because the Hong Kong people were already multimodal. So when you go from A to B, you have to take several modes. I'm sorry, Andrew, I'm sorry, Hugh, but you have shown monomodal maps. People are not monomodals, they are multimodal. Try to find a bus when you are in a metro station. And this is a customer journey map. You know, a CJM, what is this? This is a tool all the service designers use. They create a matrix with all the touch points horizontally. Here there is only one line, but you can do several lines about digital comfort, physical comfort, aesthetic satisfaction, etc. You get a matrix, and you have red points, green points. If you have a red column, it means that the place is not okay at all. If you have a red line, it means that one of the functions doesn't work at all. And it's a strategic tool. I don't understand why the architects don't study that in the schools. The engineers don't study that in the schools. But it's so easy to you can search that on Google, and you will find the methods. You will apply that, for example, to if you want to move from one flat to another flat, you imagine the new flat and you see all the places where are your attachments, your pain points, and so on, and you create your action plan. So, and in this exercise, it was shown that the red points were in the places. When you are sitting in a vehicle, it's okay. And you are working, and you are working hard when you have to change from one place to a vehicle to another. So, why does it exist? It's so obvious. And the politicians, the decision makers, spent billions of euros, dollars to improve, to construct the networks. But there is a paradox, in fact. All the policies are speaking about networks, lines, energy transition, that's really trendy, autonomy, automatization, the success of the 3 automated lines in Paris hides the rest, and digital transformation, all the scooters, all the bikes, and so on. You will find that in all the newspapers. This creates the news in mobility. But in fact, the hubs concentrate all the passengers' pain points. First, the concept of interchange. It means discontinuity. In French, we say correspondance, corresponding. Okay. In Italian, it's coincidenza. Coincidence. Strange. And in the French technical word, we say rupture de charge. So load break. You think you can say to a customer, go to the load break? So it's in the mind of all the professionals. Rupture de charge is normal. But it means that there are people who don't want that. They want to go from A to B without any issue, with the car, with the bike, with their feet. Then there is the quality of the physical connections. So this is Shibuya. It's a Japanese map used by Japanese people, only by Japanese people. But it means that everywhere the organization is very important, the physical organization, and also the vertical transportation, so elevator, escalators, and so on. Then information. If you don't know how to get out of a hub, you will be pasted in the hub. It will be an obstacle. And if everything is done, you have to wait, and then it's better to have a place where there are some resources to buy, to do something. So is it a lively place? Is there retail, and so on? So this happens in the day life of everybody, and it's not really written in the policies. With my researcher, Mathilde, we have done this study, and she has proposed 4 categories, not 3, 4 categories of interchanges. So these are, I will not describe the places, but in Bibliothèque François Mitterrand, the buses are completely scattered around the metro station. It's a de facto hub. It's a hub which was not designed. In La Défense, everything is integrated from the beginning. Miracle, because it was in the 60s. I don't know who has thought to that, but miracle. In Juvisy, all the different parts are juxtaposed and organized horizontally. And in Massy Palaiseau, it's coordinated because footbridge and second footbridge has been built, and so the links between the different parts have been organized. And what is important is what I'm explaining now. Look at that. On the left, maximal effort for the intermodal customers. On the right, the intermodality functions are assumed by the infrastructure. So, show me your interchange, I will tell you if you are really customer-oriented. So, the interchange reveal the efforts needed by everybody. So, they measure the customer experience needed. Easy, no? Easy to understand. It's never taught, never in any school. And it has been studied. You know, here, many conferences, I've participated to many of them. UITP is involved by many committees writing documents, recommendations. The European Union also. So the European Commission has said, we want to organize the inter-European network in 9 corridors with 400 and 224 urban nodes. No urban node is a city, okay? And in a city, you can have several urban hubs. And they want to spend billions to improve that. And so some regions have published documents. Switzerland, I'm working now on Luxembourg with Hugh. So there are many documents. It's really studied. But are the progresses there for the people? Not sure. And there is something which has a bit bothered all the exchanges about the subject, is the concept of mobility hub, which has arrived 10, 15 years ago. It's very interesting, but it's not the same. A hub is a place where you transfer from one mode to another mode, but also you access to the mode, or you go from the mode to the city. And beside pedestrian and car users, bikers and share mobility. I've learned the abbreviation SM plus PT. PT means public transport, in French, TC, transport en commun. And I saw SM, shared mobility. It's a category in UITP now. So SM is as important as PT, Uber as important as metro in the mindsets. And so they generate the bikers, the electric bikes, the electric scooters, they generate micro-hubs, mobility hubs. It's small on the right here, you can see, but they go in the big ones. So the challenge will consist in allowing all these scales to coexist in harmony. But it also to coexist in the minds, because when you speak about a hub to a director, I experienced that. I was speaking about interchange. I was seeing that the person in charge of strategy at RATP was speaking about thinking to the micro-hubs. And I said, I think you are not on the same planet. Please let me explain you the different levels. After that, you can go on in the discussion. If not, it's really confused. So the reasons of the situations are very simple. First, this is Montparnasse in Paris. You take a TGV, 220 kilometers in 1 hour. You have to go to take the TGV to Brussels. You take the line 4, but you reach line 4, 20 minutes walking in the corridors. Okay? The dotted yellow line. So you can compare 1 hour and 20 minutes. And 1 hour seated in an armchair, 20 minutes walking, climbing, and going down without any escalator, okay? So this is the life. Because all the hubs Most of the hubs, not all, have been created by additions, juxtapositions. So you create something, you build on something else, you don't destroy what is existing to build the additional part. Of course, if you had to do that, you would have to stop the first. So it's impossible. So this is the world. The history is made like that. And these bad hubs at the end can make the passengers reluctant to passenger transport and push them to think that they don't like the correspondence, to change from one mode to another. So they are the Achilles heels of a multimodal mobility policy. So if you improve the hubs, you will change the global attractiveness of the system. And the reason too is the lack of awareness. Look at this scheme, which was inspired by Jan Gehl, the Danish urban planner. How streets are planned are managed. You see the boxes? And down, how streets are perceived and lived as a whole. The same for a hub. There is an interaction of responsibility between all the stakeholders. For example, in Madrid, I was saying that just before, the bus report to the city, the metro reports to the CRTM, the region, the trains report to the state. So you have to go to the king to have the transversal coordination. There's no coordination. So there are many places where you begin to understand that the problems you have on the field, that the customers feel, are caused only because they are not organized up. So people are right when they say they are not good at the highest level. And no organization in charge of the production, the transversal production. So there is no customer responsible for to cross all the modes in a hub. And if the projects, when you build a new station, it gathers all the stakeholders in a financial committee, in a steering committee, okay, it's done because there is money, so it's important for each part to know where the money will go. Okay, but after the delivery, there's nobody to manage the whole. It's really a pity because 5 years after, I can tell you that with Mathilde, we have seen that in Saint-Germain-en-Laye, a place in the suburbs of Paris, it's a shame what I'm going to say. She has seen some panels which were false, and she has shown the photos. I had put these panels 35 years ago. Nobody had taken that in charge during 35 years. This is a reality of many countries. You deliver, you inaugurate, you have the press, you are re-elected if you are a mayor, but who is managing the follow-up? So in the hubs, it's really difficult. And the last point is very specific to transportation, not existing in Hong Kong, but really in France, in Australia, in many countries where authorities contract with operators. If the authorities don't specify to each operator, please be friendly with your neighbor, the other operator, which is operating another line, they will not do the job together. Because they have their own job. Their KPIs, their indicators, are about their silo, not about the transversality. So we are about the hubs again. So sorry for this long digression. I will enter now in the solutions. because there are many. Sasha, thank you. Because this map shows that there are lines, but the hubs are the cities. And a city is a good thing, no? It's a beautiful thing. So we all see the lines in colors, but the so the rounds, the circles, are as important as the lines. In mathematics, when you have a network, it's the graph theory. The lines and the nodes are as important, at the same equivalent, are equivalent. So in the Roman imagination, the interchanges of the crossroads were the cities. So I have first to dive in what is made with the metros, because they are the most intense infrastructural construction existing in urban transportation, not the trams and the buses, the metros. So this is Paris, where it was built before 1950. You imagine the whole network built in 50 years. And this is Bastille. When you see Bastille, you think that people will be lost in that. It's impossible to use, okay? It's an artwork. And there is an architect who has created a book, Mangrove Urbaine, Urban Mangroves, who has studied Montreal, Singapore, and Paris. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's in French if you find it, but it's beautiful. The explanations are not enough, but the schemes are really good. So it means that they can be used by the travelers. Why? Because there are systems which make these labyrinths human and usable. Everything is made for the movement. The panels in the corridors, the sizing of the spaces, the escalators, the elevators. So they welcome crowds every day, and it works in Hong Kong, in Montreal, in New York, everywhere it works. And there are connectors. There are connections in some hubs already. Here you can see two places which are worth a visit if you like that. Mark City in Shibuya and the Dobby Goat connector in Singapore. I like it, except when it's covered by publicity. Because I can't imagine that this artwork can be covered. So the columns are covered, but sometimes it's also covered on the ground. I think in France it would be forbidden. Well-sized connectors, well-sized crossings are the first answer to the overloaded hubs, overloaded connections. And because there were also some systems which were initially built with a good quality. For example, here we stay in the metro, São Paulo. You have two stations, República and C, where the lines are perpendicular, and each level has a central platform to disembark and lateral platform to embark. And you change from one line to another with one staircase. So practical, but completely overloaded, but it works. Washington, fantastic crossing in the center of the city. Fantastic. Underground cathedral. I could stay there looking at the places during hours. I was admiring the architecture. It was working rather well. Only thing was that the lighting was a bit weak, so the panels were not really legible. So it's a pity, but it's beautiful. And here, Hong Kong. and also Singapore, the double interchange system. Very expensive. I've spoken about that to French people. Oh, c'est cher. You have to build 2 stations for 1. Yeah. What I don't understand is that in the present maps, the small sign indicating in which station you could change is not existing anymore. I don't know why. You will explain me why. So you see here the red, does it exist? No. The small snake which is inside the. So modern systems have organized, anticipated what could be an interchange between metro lines. And intermodality from one line to another. It's not easy, but you can do. For example, here, Canada Water and Jubilee Line, the 2 are beside the bus stations and the metro entrance, or in Rappelswil-Jona in Switzerland, like many places. So there is continuous space between the buses and the trains. And Torcy, everything was well organized in 80 when the area was created. So you can plan, you can do the job. In La Défense, for example, it was a miracle, but everything was built like that. Everything is compact, and all the additions were possible without destroying the system. It's exceptional. There is no other place in France where such a quality exists. And you have also intelligent additions, like here in Brussels, where you add an area line, you destroy the station, but you built the station inside, in Schumann. So you didn't destroy completely, you reconstruct the part, but you make the intermodality very visible, and you make that obvious. You know where I was taking the train to go to Luxembourg, it was here, so I was knowing where to go without following the signs. And here in Shinjuku, the bus station has been added on the top of a 4 floors building. On the top, so easy, Japanese people. And so it's superposed, the buses are over the trains. So it's intelligent and it's easy for the passengers. There are also some sandwiches organized for buses, like here in Helsinki and Madrid. These 2 capitals have the best stations organized with metros, perhaps Singapore too, with the buses, where it's like an airport, you know. I will not describe the system because it could be very long, and when we were in Madrid, we had this description, but it's really, really impressive to see how you can anticipate and organize the intermodality. So it's the hub function which is planned. And it can be planned very easily, like in Switzerland, horizontally. When you open everything, in Switzerland they have the concept of open station. There's no wall, no limit. You go from bus to train easily. So simple. They have closed it when there is a football match, I know, because I saw some fences added sometimes, but normally it's open. And I have to add also now the bike. The biking has to be considered as a heavy mode. Perhaps not yet in Hong Kong, in Singapore, but in many European cities, they have a very advanced policy, like in Utrecht in the Netherlands, 12,000 position for the bike park under the station. Here in Brussels, where the metro station were so large that they could welcome bike stations. So it's very important because it changes the idea, the representation we have about what is a hub. And this introduces the concept of micro-hub. You remember? I told you that the micro-hub were arriving. But the difference is that the large hub, the macro hubs, the interchanges, are an object dealt between public services, public companies, long-lasting companies. So it's slow to organize. If you don't anticipate, you don't succeed. With the microhubs, it's the new economy players who want a profit in 2 or 3 years. So they are very flexible, and they add some bike slots in a place. It's not aesthetic, but it's not a problem. So the authorities, like here in Vienna, try to manage that. So that's arriving in many cities, and that has to be really well organized. If not, hundreds of bikes destroy a bus station. You can't make the biking possible where a bus station exists, because a bus driver will stop his bus. He's too afraid to drive around in dozens of bikers. It's impossible. If you go beside the driver, you will understand immediately why. And there are other consequences. The flexibility of the sizing of these elements has a consequence on the space planning of the places. So shared mobility need microhubs, need to understand how microhubs have to be integrated in macrohubs. In French, it's better microhub, macrohub. In English, microhub, macrohubs, doesn't work very well. So space planning is the first answer. Second answer, which is the work for designers, for you, if you are in this part. So what are the travel information needs? 4 pages, I will jump on them very quickly. They come from a study I had done in the 90s, you remember? You imagine, 90s. What is information? It's a communication act from a sender to a receiver, the passenger. So the sender sends a message in a channel. The channel is not always very clean, so there is noise. And the sender and the receiver have their own cultures or their own codes, their own references. It's not sure that the receiver understands what the sender had wanted to send. So the feedback is really important. This is the core rule I had learned 40 years ago about information. And so it works with the maps, the signage, with everything, with the apps. And I had proposed with colleagues this definition. Information, there is information if you reduce the uncertainty of a passenger. If there is no uncertainty, it's not information. It's a dancing, moving show, but it's not information. If it's not solved, you don't inform. You create noise. So information is not the display or the message, it's the result. You only can say there is information, not seeing a panel, but being sure that the panel has been efficient. So there are functional targets. I will not describe that, but operational, educational, appropriative, and promotional functions. So in 12 categories, you can read that later. But remember the scheme. I will use it again later. And the customer is surrounded by systems, physical, digital, and human, which will answer to these functions. And he's in a multi-channel environment, and especially in the hubs. So what's happening? So this is the customer's life. You see signage, screens, apps, web, stuff, maps, and all the elements are systems, and they have to be managed as a system. So, but second very important concept, passenger information system is a system of systems. If you don't manage the second level of the system, only the passenger will see that there is a difference between what is said and what is read. You announce that it's closed, but it's still open. So you are smiling. Everybody has seen these type of situations. So the answers now, they're really, if you go deep in the wayfinding, the graphic vocabulary, you have very differentiated mode signs. Jean, it's for you. You have networks which show the modes with different colors. Okay? Moscow is very interesting because the bike is inside as a mode. I never saw that in other networks. But there are also unified mode signs, like Paris, Brussels, Budapest. So it's more, it seems to be less interesting, but in fact, it gives the priority to the signs, the line signs. The lines are really important. What are you looking for? I am searching the 16. I'm searching the 58. So this is the elementary, the element you have to search in a system. So putting the mode a bit lower is logical. But each metropolis has its own system of signs. It's a culture. Now, about the networks. You have geographical, Madrid, or schematic, London, possibilities everywhere, okay? But most of them are not really multimodal. They show the metro with perhaps the regional lines, but for example, in Madrid, the cercanías, it is 10 regional lines that are not shown in London, the overground is there, but the rail is not there because it's too dense. This is what happened in Paris. When I had the chance to do the job in the late 80s, I saw immediately that it was impossible to put the same line, all the lines, the buses in the center and the metro on the same map. So it was not done for Paris. But for the sectors in the suburbs, it was done. So you have all the lines by sectors. So it depends of the density, it depends of the uses. In Paris, it's normal to choose the bus or to choose the metro. In the suburbs, you are forced to use first the bus and then take the metro. So the rail, the regional rail. These two examples, Geneva and Brussels, are multimodal. They have been the result of decisions. We will put all the lines, okay. But I hope that Geneva will succeed when you will make the network more dense. To continue this principle, it's not obvious. I don't know if for those who were in Abu Dhabi, Tokyo, it's impossible. If you put all the lines on a network, all the bus lines, even all the rail lines on a map, it's an artwork. So this is important for the hub subject. The naming is important. In London, you go from Euston to Euston, and then you take the bus at Euston. Okay, easy. King's Cross St. Pancras serves King's Cross and St. Pancras. Easy. Sorry for my Russian, but in Arbatskaya, it is in change with Berov. Yeah. Yeah. And I've asked to a Russian, why is that? That's normal. Why don't you change? No, we prefer that. Okay, that's cultural. Okay. In Paris, there you see down Bosquet Rap, the bus station, with the area station Pont de l'Alma. it was not corrected in the reform of 2018. But in many places in the suburbs, the bus lines' names have taken the rail names. So it's easier. Naming is one of the answers. Then the signs. It seems there is an universal vocabulary which is emerging, which is these shapes which are white, surrounded by black, round or in diabolos, I don't know how to say, or in rectangles. Only the Chinese use for all the stations and add something in the hubs. So it's another way. But there is no UNESCO of the map, so there's no rule to create. Perhaps the UITP one day, Arthur. And now the maps. Marienplatz in Munich, you have everything, the buses, the U-Bahn, the metro, the S-Bahn in green. But in Amsterdam Central, you don't have the metro station. It's lacking, it's underground. It's not shown because it's published by the NS, so the rail operator. There are many, many maps, and the density and the choice of data to show is really an issue. Here it's Shinjuku, perhaps the craziest hub in the world, where you have 6 operators. So the north is not always up, and you have to play with that. So I have already said, if somebody in Japan say, oh, let's meet in Shinjuku, it's a trap, you know? You have to ask. So one of the main issues for designers, for creators about hubs maps is the 3D dimension. This is La Défense now. It's an architectural scheme. But is it possible to use that in information? Not sure. So Bern has created something with 3 scales superposed, but really difficult to make a continuous accompaniment of the path the person has to do through a hub. Very difficult, very tricky. There is, to finish, this possibility which is very smart, the spider map invented by London. When you search spider map on Google, you have 80% of the spider maps which are the London ones. But I found some in France, like this one, very beautiful in Nantes. There's also in Lyon and somewhere else. So you have the hub in the center and the lines serving the hub around. So it's expensive in making because you have to make a spider map for each place. A network map is general for all the places. Now, you have all these signs, you have to put them in the spaces. So, these are the different styles. You can see Paris, Barcelona, or London. So, it works. There are different ways of articulating signage and architecture. And if you go to the city, from the city to the transport, you can do very simple things. London also has created something very, very clever, Legible London, with, it's a designer who has proposed that for the Olympics in 2012, Tim Findlay, and it has been generalized. And after that, only after that, you see the photo of the woman who is looking at the exit guide. It has been added afterwards. So if you think, well, it's not to go from the city to the public transport, but to go from the public transport to the city. So it has been understood that the same system could be underground and overground. Yeah, so simple. Why waiting 10 years to to get a simple answer. But because it's always an issue, is it easy to find a bus when you are in metro system? So you have the answers in Singapore, Berlin, Paris. I was very criticizing the Paris system, but after that, after having seen the other networks, I thought, oh, it's not so bad, in fact. Not so bad. The bus signs are pasted on the walls, so it's not like that in many networks. So, but this is the normal life of a multimodal passenger. Where is my bus? You remember Thatcher's sentence, you know it. Miss Thatcher had said, a woman who uses a bus at 40 years old has missed her life. So I'm not sure it's completely true. Something like that, perhaps. But there is an entry on Wikipedia about that, you know. But it means that there is a general opinion that bus is downgraded in the imaginations of many people, especially in the rail people. So bus is one target, but crossing a hub is also another target. Like here in Shibuya, there is a Chikamichi, which has been added. So Chikamichi means underground street. So it's written in Japanese there. And you have an architecture and signage answer, which leads you from one place to another, because it's really difficult to cross the place. And this is the Montreal solution, which is, Richard, very interesting. You have an idealistic representation of the city places with the squares linked to the metro stations, which are on the light blue points. So it is called réseau, which means network, but not written as the French word. So, and it's in the signage, you know. So it's a collection of signs which go in the spaces. So these are many possibilities about putting the signs on the spaces, but nowadays, it started 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there is a second world, which is digital, and it's not so good. Of course, we have the mobility apps, but these mobility apps are local. They link directly the customers and the network, but they are not full. For example, in Madrid, you can't find the Cercanías lines on the Metropolitano de Madrid app. In Tokyo Metro, you don't find the JR East line on the app. It's crazy, crazy. It's impossible. It's unethic, in fact. So Paris, fortunately, has decided something else. But so you go to Google City Mapper and you abandon the local industrial digital operator. You go to the globalized one. Okay, it's a choice. But it means that the data management is perhaps not so local. They seem all the same, but they are not the same if you go inside. And you remember my trip from Paris to my hotel. So these are other trips I have described when I was doing some conferences in Australia or in Luxembourg. Each time you have uncertainty in the hubs. And in the apps, you don't have any answer about the hubs when you are searching a trip. You are arriving in Admiralty, you have to follow the sign. Fortunately, it's from metro line to another metro line. One day I had to go to my hotel. It was so crowded, I decided to take the bus. Wow. So I went out and then I searched the bus, and so I was not guided by the app. There are some websites and apps about places. One of the best ones is I didn't show it, but I speak about that, is the Swiss network app. Please look at CFF, cff.ch. You do a trip from Geneva to Zurich, offers to a small city, and you will get all the answers, and if you click well, you will find the maps of the stations and how you have to go from one platform to another. It's written. The only app in the world where it's done. Only one. Not normal. This is one of the most important issues passengers face when they use public transport. Fortunately also, architecture is useful. We have spoken about space planning at the beginning, but architecture by itself. For example, here in Jungfernstieg, we are together, Hamburg, when we were in Hamburg taking the photo. There is something which the columns are saying, go forward, go forward. So there's no message, but there is a message. And the shapes have a message. For example, here, in Montreal and Brussels, from a metro platform, you have these broad places. It means it's a staircase to go out. Not very necessary to add sortie, way out in big. But in London or Hong Kong, if it's not written way out, deguchi, deguchi, no, it's Japanese. So I don't know how to say that in Cantonese. But the way out, you don't know it's the way out, okay? In Paris, it's the same. If you don't describe the direction of the corridor, you can't use it. Only the blind people can know how to move inside. The normal people can't use that. So it's very important to use good signage, and these are examples where signage is one element, ingredient of the architecture. It's rare, it's rare. Many architects, I don't know why, don't like signage. They think they have to you are smiling. They do the spaces and you will paste the panels. Okay, but it's not intelligent, you know. When the spaces speak by themselves, it's better. Look at here the small example here in Omotesando. The columns, only the columns say, because they are lit, which will be the platform number and the name of the lines which are under by the staircase. So easy, only by a column. And in some big spaces, you have to use the space to say that you are changing from one part to another. Here in Shinjuku, you have 6 operators, so the domains are different between Keio, Shinjuku, Tokyo Metro, Toei, Seibu, and Odakyu. The 6, I didn't forget anyone. Each entrance is treated. And the last but not the least, it's when it's possible to redevelop a global architecture, placing every part in the good place. For example, here in Den Haag, The Hague, the capital of the capital or not the capital of Netherlands? I'm not sure. The cultural capital. Capital is Amsterdam or The Hague? Bon, so The Hague, Den Haag. So the tram passes on a bridge over the trains. And you see on the map that, no, you can't see. There is a metro station which is almost on the roof, and the bus station also. So it's integrated. It's like La Défense, but afterwards. So there are general architectural planning which organizes intermodality by architecture. So I've shown, so this is Sydney, the poor guy, he feels lost a bit, especially if he's searching a bus or light rail, which is on the right, BL, bus or light rail. No, sorry, you have seen everything here. I don't pronounce all the words. It is what about I've spoken. I didn't speak about sound, but imagine it's important. And these give the answer to that. You remember the table I didn't describe? So this is the global spec of a passenger information system. And doing that, tackling the needs, you have to manage the system of systems. If not, the customer will count the differences. Okay? And in a hub where you have already a difficult challenge to solve, going from one mode to another, if you receive several different messages, you add a problem in while you believe delivering a solution. So it's almost finished. After having done the wayfinding job, you can do the placemaking job. Because I was saying to my partner that I was crossing the Shanghai airport. It was really smooth, but I had seen no smile. So I arrived by a plane, I took another plane. It was not pleasant. So it was very good, but not pleasant. So the places should be more pleasant. For example, when you arrive in Dubai, I don't know why, all these white officers in white, they smile. So it's perhaps in the culture or in the management of the companies who are managing the airports. I don't know. But it's important to deliver good spaces, because when you travel, you are already tired. You are after 12 hours in Shanghai, I was tired. So I would have liked something, welcome or something like that. No, nothing, there was nothing. So a hub, it's a transport place plus an urban place plus a place for services. I will not describe that. It's written in many documents, but this is a functional definition of a hub. So I didn't do a presentation beginning by that. I could have done that, but it's now much easier for you to understand that after I have seen all the other pictures. So to solve that, and it comes from a researcher who is called Georges Amar, who was in RATP 30 years ago and who studied that. So it's already in the books for 30 years. We have to create the places. So this is an example of what was done 30 years ago, a tropical garden in the metro. So it's lasting, you know. What's strange is that the project manager, it's not about hubs. It's about something which has been added in a metro station. But the project manager told me, oh, I have a hole between the metro station, the RATP headquarters. I don't know what to do there. Shopping center? I don't know. And a few months later, he told me, oh, I know, I saw in Singapore, they make gardens in the metro. We'll do that. Okay, do that. So it's very expensive, you know. It's very, very expensive to manage that. So there is the gardener who works every day there. We have that. It's in contract. But I think there are no gardens in the Singapore metro. There are no gardens, no? It's a dream. I don't know why he said that. So it's good to have created an answer from an idealistic view, which was a fantasy. So Shibuya again. Shibuya exists because of the train. There was a village, But you see here the Yamanote line, the circular line, all the places separate inner and outer city. Sotogawa, Nakagawa. And the metro lines should have been limited to the center and the regional train line to the external. In fact, it's not like that now. But it means that people had to change from one company to another company in these stations. So the changing, the transport, transfer function has created the flows. And then the Shibuya crossing, and these are pictures of the future of Shibuya. So public transport generated an urban hub. More modestly, but perhaps not so modest in numbers, these Grand Paris Express big project with 68 stations, they have been created as centers of zones which are called stations district, quartier de gare, which has a name in Australian. I don't know, nobody is from Australia, yeah? But English-speaking people, I don't know if you use the word precinct for that. I discussed with a British person, an American person who told me, no, precinct is not that. But in Australia, a precinct is a zone around a station. So it means that when a word exists in the culture, the activity exists. So there is an award about precinct design. Interesting, because it doesn't exist in other countries. So for the Grand Paris, you see the precinct, which is in blue, around the station where you can see 17, 16 in La Courneuve. So all the stations have been organized with a precinct project, but unfortunately, they are not delivered at the same time. So stations arrive, and around, it's a mess, fortunately. This big station in Saint-Denis, which was delivered for the Olympics, had received a few days ago an award, a Versailles Award. I wasn't knowing that it was existing, but 7 transport stations in the world have received the award, 2 of the Grand Paris Express and 2 of Riyadh, 1 in Guangzhou, Bayoun Station, and 2 others, I don't know where. Qatar, yeah. So these are all, normally they should be hubs, but they are not yet hubs, unfortunately. There will be perhaps hubs after the first delivery. So when you create a station, an expressive station like a metro station, you can imagine that it's not easy to transcript that for buses. But some countries do that by pride, by will of development policy, local development policy. Transport hubs sometimes can become something very symbolic. You see the realization is crazy, no? Especially the Dutch one, the red one, in Hoofddorp. So, very strange. I visited the place. It was not so pleasant for the passenger. That was the problem. On the contrary, you can create something much more modest, but more pleasant for the people. Like there are 2 French examples, one Spanish and one Japanese, where you integrate the solution to the cityscape. So integration or expression, it's a choice. It's a political choice. And last picture, it's not exactly about the hubs, but what I saw about the Hong Kong terminal West Kowloon station, Hong Kong West is the same. In fact, with the station, a place, an urban place has been created. But I hadn't integrated in my study the non-urban places. There's this reason I didn't show that. But here in Boston and in Stockholm, the metro entrances, you guess perhaps that the entrance is beside, there was only a staircase behind, and here it's a building in Stockholm. There were pretexts to create urban places. So it's not hubs about in a transport direction. These are hubs between transport function and urban functions. So after having created places, you can accompany the interchanges. So it's easier, like with artworks here in Paris, at the end of a corridor or along a corridor. In the center of some places, some interchanges, like in Bordeaux, with the artwork in Munich, where you have to wait, but you have an artwork. It creates some value for the city. You have also publicity, people like or don't like. But it creates something perhaps less boring than if there are only white walls. And you can do intelligent publicity. You see here the publicity for the Vienna city in Paris with the Vienna Museum artworks and the shoppings. So these are connectors in New York and Munich, where passing from one metro station to another mode was filled with a true shopping center. When you go to Stachus Passagen in Munich, it's really a shopping mall. I didn't use turnstile at Columbus Circle, but I think it's the same. And more than that, in Osaka, you have 5 rail stations which are linked by an underground city called Number Walk with 5 sections A, B, C, D, E, each with places, with cultural places, and with an index of every shop to be delivered, like in the street, you know. So it's a double second city, a hub which is a second city underground. And I like to conclude by this small example, which is in Dresden, in Germany. Klotsche was a very small, old station, disused, abandoned. Trains were stopping. There was only a ticket vending machine. But a transport consultant, if there are transport consultants here, you can do the same, follow the same way. He has bought the building and transformed it in an organic station. Biobahnhof means organic station, with an organic supermarket, organic restaurant. I ate there. It was good. And a bike repair station. So interesting to create a local hub, not in the definition of Shibuya, but it's the same function in the city. It creates a node in the city. I will now conclude saying that we have to be confident in using design, but we have to not work only as designers, also as tactical people. We have 4 principles to tackle the hub's issues. First, making the hub as strategic. Here it's the Swiss Emmenbrücke Declaration. You told me that it was not really published, but you have the minister who said with all the administrative level, the hubs are important, we have to treat them. There was a declaration. So what is the problem is that it has not been used as much as possible. But I can assess that with you, we saw in Luxembourg, the minister saying that in an interview, and she has given the order to all her administrations to follow all the ideas which are explained there. I was invited to do a presentation 45 minutes in front of her. Her administration's directors were there. And at the end, she said, "Yo, it's very interesting. I do agree on everything. We'll do all." And she has looked to all her directors, and they are now doing the job. So let's gather for a transit mapping symposium, perhaps in 2027, not 26, in Luxembourg. Perhaps you will have some results. So declare the hub strategic and make a decision maker pronounce that. Then create the governances. There are many examples. The Renance footbridge organization is fantastic, modest and fantastic. I will not describe it, but when you create a good governance, you have a good result. It's sure. But it's Swiss because it was a modest organization, but it lasted 20 years. 20 years. Then, this is the job for designers. Do wayfinding and do placemaking. And this is Hugues' study about Lausanne-Flon. And on the right, you have a scheme on pps.org, Project for Public Spaces, an American organization. You know that Americans invent some concepts on some domains they don't control well. For example, about the city centers, I was asked by the president of PPS, is this a destination? I was trying to answer, and he told me, it's a destination when you have 10 different answers. Oh, it's very standardized. So if you don't have 10 different targets to go, reasons to go to a place, it's not a destination. So perhaps we could be less standardized, but use the principle of what is placemaking. So wayfinding, these are studies done also in RATP, just in Saint-Germain-en-Laye, the place I was explaining. And you can define the hub perimeter, apply the good assessment criteria, executive, collective, explorative fields, and establish customer journey map. 2, 1, generate short-term programs. 2, specify mid and long-term investment project. And 3, adopt specs for tomorrow. So this is a very, very effective way to work. So after my 90 pages of describing a problem, this is one page to solve. So I didn't want to only to explain that we are in a bad world because it's not good. If you develop these ideas with professionals, you can obtain the result. And last picture, it's about placemaking. So big, Oculus in New York, okay, to answer to the drama of 2001. New Yorkers created that, a hub. Mid-size, Chatswood in Australia, between a metro station, a bus station, and a train station, there's a shopping center, very pleasant, very well organized, but planned, and small. Iwaki Hanawa in Japan, 120 passengers per day in the land, but the building rebuilt by the municipality as a local library, welcoming a ticket counter. But perhaps the ticket counter doesn't exist anymore because it was 20 years before. But it has revamped completely the place as a multifunctional hub. So they have created places. So this is my last picture. Let's cross Shibuya like this woman looking to this good map and following the signs. You have several companies on the place, and it seems not difficult for her to cross Shibuya. Thank you.